you see it? Sorry, we might be short of what you see on the other side, sorry. It was working the test, of course, there it goes. No. All right, well, we'll do more later. Think about it. Okay.
Okay. One at a time.
Good evening. I'm here this evening in my capacity as the recording secretary for the county's Tax Abatement Advisory Committee, which is a group that works together in an exclusively advisory research capacity, has no statutory authority, but the group met on February 18th as the county has received one SB1 for approval or consideration. It was filed by PhD Incorporated of Huntington. Pleased to welcome Andrew Towson and Shane Brinson from the plant to be with us this evening. The company is planning to invest $3 million in new manufacturing equipment. The equipment improves production capacity and automates various work and improves profitability, obviously, for the company. The company, which also has a facility in Fort Wayne, reported that it now currently employs approximately 91 people at Huntington, supported by an annual payroll of $5,600,000, or the equivalent of approximately $29.58 per hour. Again, serving only in an advisory capacity, the committee makes a following recommendation tonight: that County Council give approval to the SB1 as submitted, and have an approval of abatement to last 5 years, with an annual abatement percentage as follows: year 1 at 100%, year 2 at 80%, year 3 at 70%, year 4 at 60%, year 5 at 50%, and the abatement would end in year 6. And I thought, as the recommendation is for a 5-year abatement, it might be useful for council to see an illustration of the potential of the fiscal impact. The illustration is at your desk in front of you, and it was prepared using software designed by Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors, actually at the time on behalf of Hoosier Energy, and then shared with economic developers throughout the state. The 5-year model, in short, accelerates the benefit for the company as well as the future revenue for the county. And as you look at the modeling document there, page 2 has a whole list of disclosures to help understand that this is for modeling purposes only. The county assessor ultimately will certify what the official AD is, so these numbers are subject to change, but this is generally speaking how a 5-year abatement would work. And I prepared this for you so that in years 6 through 10, you can see in that first column that the abatement percentage is 0% as it moves through the system. Over time, the 5-year period, over that time, the company would save roughly $69,000 given this particular modeling. But over also the same period of time, they would pay the county approximately $24,000 in new revenue. And again, on a tax abatement, this is not an outlay of funds in any way from the county. You're simply discounting or slowing down or phasing in, however you want to phrase that, the liability that the company incurs. And then after the abatement ends, in this case in year 6, given this model, the company would be paying a little bit over $14,000 a year in property taxes associated with that particular investment and model strategy moving forward. With that, I'm happy to address any questions you may have.
So John, you were on the committee, is?
Yes, and it was a good discussion. They've been long-term employers in the county for a long time. And I'm kind of guessing with their workforce, because I know a lot of them, they're probably hiring and things like that, getting harder to get people. So this is equipment that they definitely need to have to stay competitive. So, yeah, we gave it a favorable recommendation.
Well, I know, I feel these out on behalf of my company, and I know that it's a very valuable tool to ease the tax burden of the equipment, so it's definitely a good tool to be able to use for our manufacturers.
How long's PhD been
In that facility since the 70s.
I'd say high school.
I meant to say the 90s.
That's right away.
Well, and I'd like to compliment the company for being involved with things like the high school robotics team, 4-H, and other activities throughout the community. They've been a wonderful, continue to be a wonderful corporate citizen for us.
And I pointed out to Mark at this meeting with the robotics team, one of the kids who was in one of the first groups from Roanoke is nationally known as a judge for the robotics and stuff, so your help and assistance is certainly branched out into other areas, so.
This is basically a no-brainer, long-term employer in Huntington County and partner with the community. For me, it's a no-brainer decision supporting this business.
For clarification, that would include resolution
2025-02-24.
And you're gonna fill out the,
Filling out the schedule right now, and I'll pass it based on your approval.
so motion by Terry on resolution 2025-02-24, seconded by Keith. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Also, just wanted to call your attention to a little brochure that we put on the table for you. That's our annual report from 2024. Another good productivity year with 11 client projects. Those clients a little over, almost $41,668,000. And during my tenure now, we're up to 190 projects. Those clients have invested over $815 million in Huntington County. And it's a team effort, as the whole point of the brochure points out, and we really appreciate the help and partnership that the county has provided to us, and thank you. Any questions that you might have?
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Terry and Keith.
Keith, second. Okay, item 5, Brian?
Good evening, folks. I'm Trevor, Administrator of the Health Department. We're just asking for a transfer of funds from our 1159 fund, 1159.21408, and the clinic supplies of 2,500, and then also the 1159.22000 in the vaccine line for 2,500, and move all the 5,000 over to the 1159.31110 in non-contact professionals.
So this is the cover painting.
As you guys, I don't know if you guys all remember, but we finished up a renovation, a major renovation of the annex building on the health department side roughly about a year ago, it was in March. When that was done, there was not enough funds to properly do the door frames, and they repainted them, and about 2 months later, they were peeling. And part of that is they were never prepped, to be honest with you, from the time that health department moved out there and everything else. So it's been about 10 years roughly. They were never prepped properly the first time. So we actually had Ed Shear come in with his guys, and they actually prepped all the frames correctly, sanded down the spots that need to be. They put a specific primer on there that's like a little sticky substance, and then it's kind of like an oil paint, but it's actually a latex, but it has all the qualities on it, so it actually bonds and sticks to that. So, as Ed told me, that should be on there for 10 to 12 years before peeling of the paint comes on. So, kind of hard to have a health department with peeling paint when we have kids coming in for lead tests. So, we knew we had to get it done.
This isn't gonna hurt your clinic's price.
It will not. We took them from those two lines because of the HFI funds that we have. So when Dr. Matt and I were looking, we looked at what we used last year, that from HFI funds, and what we budgeted for this year, and we should not have problems on that part. We just used more on that 1161 this year than what we did last year, but we should be okay.
Okay.
Make the motion to approve the transfer of $5,000 in non-contract professionals.
Motion by John, second by Keith. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, folks.
So I spoke to Greg today, so I'm here in Seattle. This is just a simple transfer of appropriation. When the county acquired the business across the street, they wanted to track the utilities for that building separately, and they put it under the commissioner's budget. But when we prepared the budgets last May, and Kim was helping Greg with his budget, she lumped them all together under his budget. And I just discovered this like a week ago, and I said, you know, they really, I guess it's more than a week ago, but a couple weeks ago, and I said they really wanted to track those separately, so we need to divide those out, so the appropriations in two different lines, so when the bills come in, we can pay them and track them. So same amount of money, nothing extra, just tracking.
Motion approved.
Second, Brad.
Motion by Terry, second by Brian. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. You're a lot better.
Any corrections?
Good evening. Community Corrections is requesting a transfer out of the community county grant in the amount of $44,859.06 out of insurance and into social security and retirement. This will get us to about June of '25. We got a new point of contact out of the DMHA, who's the person who runs, or the group that runs the community catalyst grant. So Leslie wants to have a meeting with the DMHA to see if we need to revise anything in regard to that, because we're coming to the end of that grant.
Now, what's the end of your year?
What's that?
What's the month is the end of your year? June.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's June, July.
So this is just a transfer of money you need to operate this year.
That is correct. To get that, the social security and the retirement out of the way, and there's some buffer to June until we can have that meeting.
Must be still some insurance, plenty of insurance.
Plenty of insurance in that line item.
That was a multi-year grant, wasn't it?
That's
3 or 4 years.
Correct.
Motion.
Motion by Shane,
Second.
second by Jamie.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
We had a little bit of discussion, this joint effort in the meeting, feel here. You know, talking a bit of, for some council members about the fuel, you know, our emergency generators, diesel fuel needs to be reconditioned, or if it sits too long, you have water separation, algae, all kinds of bad stuff in it. We do full maintenance on the actual engines and stuff, but we haven't done that for the fuel maintenance, you know, to make sure that the diesel fuel is good. We have, you see, the bill is handed out.
Yeah, that was the fuel quote.
Yeah, the clean fuel code, there's a company that will be coming in and doing it one time. It's gonna be, I think it was
I wrote it down there. Not quite $11,000.
10,700 for one time. And we like to have them go ahead and come back and appropriate on the next council meeting. We wanna make sure you guys are fine before we go through all that. We're gonna buy the equipment and we will do that for the county. And we have 5 of them, we'll do it in-house. Yeah, we'll do it in-house. But first have a company come in and 2 years, we pay $11,000.
Do you have an extra copy?
Yeah, well,
If not, you
Short
can
of
get
one.
me one, you can,
Yeah,
you can
here's
bring it
one.
over.
first quote.
So what you're looking at is the actual equipment we would like to purchase.
For 13,600.
Huh? For 13,600, yes,
Yes.
13,600.
So you're gonna pay them 11, then you're gonna buy equipment?
No.
No. 11 would be if we have a company coming to do it.
That's every time.
Every time they come in, we'll around 11. 13, we buy our own equipment to do, sorry.
Which are we doing?
Sorry, yeah, we wanna buy the equipment for 13, we don't have to.
So it's 13
We want
for
to
a
say
long time, it's better
It'll
than
probably go for
11,000
15 to 20 years.
That's what you're saying, right?
Right.
11 grand every year, maybe to do it, right?
Yes.
Or
And that's this year.
just buy our own.
Yeah, it's just December.
Are you guys confident you can?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Is it every year, or X
I
amount
would
of
say like
gallons?
2 years, I would say, but we can run it, we probably wanna run it each year, because you circulate it, you start to water up in algae and everything. That makes it better than filter it in, you'll actually take that out, or if it builds up too much, we might actually get a hot water.
And you have to change
Do
the
more water.
filters and stuff in there every so often.
Yeah, we're gonna have to buy supplies too, but it's not gonna be for 13,000.
You'll see, I think on the quote here, there's a
It
price
says-
and some extra filters.
Yeah, and you don't have to replace the filter for each one, it's actually a uniform pressure, it'll tell us that's balanced and good.
And we're not using fuel. That's a good thing, like generators from the center, it runs every week, but it doesn't.
No, this is just.
That's about down
inside.
inside.
So I think we're asking for a commitment to spend a little bit.
So you think you have to change filters every year, or you don't know?
The filter, they will tell when they need to.
The first, I would see the first year,
Maybe,
for the ones that you.
yes.
I can do it twice, that's right. I can do it twice, right?
Yeah. But we're gonna run it once a year in the summertime.
Have you been doing this in the past? Having a company, okay, so this is
It's just something we've been overseeing for that long. We do all the maintenance on the engines, all the filter will change.
I mean, I'm assuming you wanna do this to prevent everything for the next
Yes.
10 to 20 years on
Yes.
every vehicle, every filter of every vehicle, machinery, everything.
Yes, for all the generators.
All the generators,
Yes.
I like maintenance better than I like buying these.
This is preventive maintenance.
Kind of like a car, I change the oil once in a while.
Right.
And in the long run, we will save money versus having someone come in, yes, it's good, but it's no local business that can do it, so. I think rather than spend 11,000 every 3 years, we can spend 13 now, we can just keep on.
I'll make a
We're
motion.
gonna keep this on the.
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
What was your question, Ken?
And I will, John, and then Keith.
yeah, but this is just coming, we will come back and make appropriation for money.
Oh, that's right, we can't do it anyway.
No, no, no. This is just want to explain it.
But I like the motion.
But we'll come back and he will ask for that money for line item.
I guess if
Makes sense.
buy versus.
Right, that's, yes, that's what we want to show you, it's line item on the bottom.
That's only smart.
Yeah, so we'll come back next month and just ask for
We're
that
gonna be able to
money.
protect this equipment.
Right.
It's not being used.
It's gonna go, and we've already talked about it, it's gonna sort out there.
It's gonna be like, in the wrong.
So yes.
You got a place.
But I don't wanna do this 3 years from now, well, that's not gonna be my problem.
Oh.
Yes, but no, it's gotta be sitting
Buy
inside.
another one because it fell apart.
No,
We've already had that discussion.
no, so, okay, cool.
Okay.
Awesome. We'll get back.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, running it out.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so the next item is, let's do the conferences first.
Move it around.
Skip to 13.
Hello.
So the conferences, this is basically the conferences for the, basically moving from 24 to 25, are we done with these?
It should be.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you, come July, we may have some more because of the fiscal year grants.
But, yeah, I'd like to,
It's hard because some of these
I'd like to
buildings
get
don't come
these-
out until
Yeah.
January for
I'd like to get these done, no time. That does eat into this year's budget. So, okay, with that being said, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Brian?
Alright.
Second. Second by John, all those in favor?
Aye.
Alright, so let's jump back to, let's go ahead and, I'll entertain a motion to open the salary ordinance.
Do you have discussion?
Item 10.
So
Second.
Terry, Brian, Brian, all in favor? Opposed? Okay. All right, so the discussion is the salary that we changed last month was because it fit what job class recommended. From our understanding.
Been a tough month.
Yeah, from our understanding, the
Advisory board.
advisory board has that authority and that's the salary that they.
Because it's attached to the grant, it's
Attached to the grant.
file for the grant, that's what it says, that's what we got.
That's
That's
the grant.
choice. That's fair, yeah.
So what was the amount that we need to change it to?
An annual amount of $58,656.
656,
Paid from grant 9317,
9317.
effective January 28th.
Effective January 20. Okay.
That was the day after your last meeting.
Okay.
Just retroactive.
And that's for 2 or 3 employees, or just one employee?
The grant number 9317 for 58,656 annual. I'll entertain a motion on that, which is really what we're saying.
I'll make that motion. I'll second. Secretary, the correctional board.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any other discussion? Oh, 6-1. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close this hour, please.
So moved, second, Brian.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Who had the motion?
Terry and then Brian.
Brian, second.
So that would get passed out by right.
Close.
No, you're closing it, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'd like to turn everybody's attention, I did a kind of a government funding 101, it's probably gonna be a 201, a 301, and a 401. Is that on the screen, Brooklyn?
101 is good.
Okay. So this is kind of, these are the, I want to say the basic funding right now that funds county government. And then we'll move into more detailed revenues and balances, and we'll get into the expenses at some point. Trying to build everybody so they understand when we get to budget time, what all encompassing, because I know when I joined the council, I was approving expenditures, and I'm like, where is this coming from? But it was an exercise to at least help everybody understand it doesn't come from the sky. So,
If I may, this is great information because the bills I've been following, SD1 and so forth throughout the state, and I've been giving Kendall Reynolds and things, and he's actually went down there and did great testimony on behalf of Huntington County, which we should all be thankful how this all works, because depending on what they come up with in the end, after another
yeah, this
month
might
and a half,
change.
this all might change or be different, or they may change lid around, or, you know, we'll see how it turns out. But anyway, I just want to say that because it's going to be something to watch for the next couple months here.
So we're on page 2, glossary terms.
Yes.
So just a quick thing, so, the ones that we utilize are the economic development, that's where we pay out, grants to companies and other things, and also used for other economic development purchases and supplements. The public safety lit, also called PS lit, and lit is local income taxes, obviously. Got the jail lit, that was the one that, I lost 6-1 key on for the jail lit funding for the bond for the expansion of the jail. It also supplements some of our operations of the jail. Public safety access points, fancy term for our 911, called the PSAP lit, the EMS lit, which is we contract with Parkview for our ambulance service, and then what's called shares, and that lit is used to supplement anything in general funds, but it's also, we have property tax levies. AV is assessed value, levy is obviously what we try to collect. The max levy is what you're allowed, like this year was 4%, is the maximum increase that we were allowed. And then you have certain direct credits, 1% on homesteads, 2 on farm, 3 on commercial. And then there's some other ones for over 65. And then I just listed also county statewide 911. That isn't actually anything we collect, that's something that comes from the state. And that's based on $1 per month on any phone plan. So that's a glossary to hopefully help everybody. And I also kept kind of the glossary terms with that. If you can move to the next slide. So I've got in bold the shares. So the shares is essentially .112. So everybody pays 1.95% local income taxes. 1.12 is the shares. 0.25 for public safety lit, 0.25 for economic development lit, PSAP is 0.1. The jail lit is 0.2 and the EMS is 0.03. So very small sliver there. You can see the biggest lump of it is the shares. And then if you can click it again, the shares then. Yeah, nope, go back, go back, go back.
This one's,
That one, yeah,
Sorry,
because that pops up.
gotcha.
You can see of the shares, which is 57% of that income tax collected, the cities and the towns, that's Andrews, Markle, everybody, I just lumped them all together in Huntington City, takes about just shy of half of it. Something that people didn't understand in the state, the schools only get shares on the first 0.25. So they actually collected 607,000 or 5% of the shares.
A couple of Kendall members actually asked Kendall, the
Yeah.
schools?
Schools don't get any income, like if we increase income taxes, the schools won't get any, and they're like, oh, we didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that was comforting. Library gets 750, that's Andrews, that's Huntington, everybody, so they get about 6% of it. Townships get about 4%, and then us as a county, for any shares, we get about 36. And I lumped in solid waste, even though they're kind of a separate entity, but I didn't want another slide on that. So that's kind of the breakdown of how our local income taxes work, and that was $20.8 million collected in 2025.
How are shares determined and who issues them?
So the shares are basically, there's another slide that I was trying to show, but it's basically off of your levy the prior year. So if whatever your levy was, that's your portion of that's why the school's only getting 0.25. They obviously have the biggest levy out of everybody. And then after that, everybody shares and get a little bit more in that, so. And I'll show that breakdown in another slide. So if you go to the next one. Okay, so that one, economic development lit and public safety lit, I thought they were both off of population, but they're a little bit different. So you can see the 13% is economic development, and also PSO is 13%. But if you click the slide, click another one to get the breakdown, you can see there, the county gets about 40% of the economic development, but it gets 42% of the public safety. I thought they were on the same formula, but there must be something somewhat different there. And then the cities and towns get the rest of it. Townships do not get public safety or economic development. It's only cities and towns in the county get those lists. So. Next slide.
It's incorporated towns.
Yes, yes.
Markle, Andrews, and Warren.
Yeah.
Well,
Right, yep. So then the next slide is kind of an eye chart that shows, this is actually on the state's website, which tells you what everybody gets. So you can see, I circled the PSAP because that's right off the top. That funds our public safety, along with the E911 funds. The jail levy and the EMS are at the bottom. You can see 2.1 million for the jail and then 300 almost 20,000 for the EMS ambulance service. But you can then see Huntington County, you can see the first column includes the schools. They got 607,000 out of the first distribution of the 2.6 million, and then of the 9.3 million, that was distributed out to the counties and everybody else. You have to I had to break it into 2 pages, but if you look at the total to the right there, you can see that 11,941,238. You can see the city got 5 million of that, of the total. And then you can see how the public safety and economic developments were broken out. You can see zeros across the board on the townships. The school doesn't get any economic development either, and the libraries don't get any of that. So that's the breakdown of how we're funding today. Any questions on that? This is where it really gets fun, the next slide. So there's a levy, the property taxes that we request, there's a gross and then there's a net. Max levy is the maximum allowable, and you got your circuit breakers. So the state of Indiana Department of Local Government Finance spreadsheet, underneath that to the left, you can see in 2024, we had 9.7 million. We were allowed 4%, so that means we were allowed 10.1 million. We're mandated to pay Bowen Center $284,000, but it doesn't count towards our max levy. It doesn't help us with the caps, but it doesn't count towards our max levy. And then whatever we agree to pay for development disabilities, we paid Pathfinder's $125,000. Those are not counted. So that means our max levy is $10.5 million. Over to the right, you can see the property tax caps estimated all the way to the right, $1.2 million, 1.24 actually, was what the DLGF estimated that we would lose to property tax caps for 2025.
So is that saying that we came up 1,240,000 short?
That's,
Because of
we need
those-
to account for that, so if our levy is 10.5 million, we're gonna lose 1.2 of that.
And that's because of the homestead credits and all that.
All these credits and
The
everything else.
caps, the ones.
And that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what we do, because it's a collective tax, and if somebody's in the city, and collectively, the city tax rate is around $4. If it's a $3 tax rate for corporations all day long, $12 going in the trash every day on that. So that's why tax rates matter, because you have to account for that. As a comparison, Willie County, they've got steel dynamics, they have to count $80,000 versus 1.2 million. So your mix of property taxpayers matters too. We're heavily ag, we're heavily homesteads. We do have good industrial, obviously, we've got great industrial, but we don't have steel dynamics. So they're a big property tax spender. So kind of a busy screen, hopefully I walked that through. But that's the work that Jill does, passes on to me. So that isn't anything you guys need to know, it's when you guys can kind of see it. The next sheet was to show how all the certified levies dropped in. You can see where I dropped in the 2.3 million in yellow under AV. And then I dropped in the cap losses. The cap losses are allocated according to the percentage of whatever the losses are. So if 85% of it is in general funding, you're going to get 85% of the cap losses. We have cumulative courthouse. That goes to the commissioners to maintain the courthouse. That's paid for part of the bond for the repairs and anything else that's related to the courthouse repairs goes into that. That's rate driven, and also cumulative bridge, which I've had an argument there. I don't know why that's on our property taxes, because that should be more towards the MPH. So those are things that we could have discussions on as we move forward with the property taxes. But right now, two courthouses, a rate of 273, and that's 333. So if you look out all the way to the right, those increased 25% because they were rate driven, and it just took it right by it. We had a reassessment budget change that I wasn't, I guess, I'm sure I was told, I just didn't catch it. But that levy growth was 130% for some software.
Yeah, it's a 5-year plan with the new software.
So that left us with a 3.3% growth in our general fund, which I know I talked about that when we were going through the budget adoptions. That makes it very, very difficult for the general fund. So our net levy actually was 0.4028, when actually our rate was 0.4565, the gross rate. So one of the things that I've talked to the commissioners about is can we do a recalibration of the King Courthouse and the King Bridge? Because next year, the max levy is a big use of right now.
Right now.
So if we want to have any growth to pay wages, things like that in general, it's got to come from somewhere. And since things have grown at such an exponential rate, is there something we can do to reduce those and generate some growth portion that we can use in the general fund. So I've ran some numbers I haven't shared with them, but I've ran some numbers which could free up some monies for us in the general fund if they're amicable to that. Because the last few years, it's squeezed us pretty substantially on that. So that's how the net levy, so really, it says that we're collecting 10.5 million, we're really only collecting 9.3 when it's all said and done. So then the last slide, county general, can't remember, that just the top, yeah, the top screen there is 8.6 million less the circuit breaker cap, for that leaves us about 7.6 million for property taxes. From the other slide, we got 4.2 million from the county share of lit. So that gives us just shy of $11.8 million to fund county general. And if you guys may or may not remember, our general was 17 million.
I'm gonna say, yeah.
So this is only funding about 70% of what we have in county general. So that's where the jail holds the interest on investments, other reimbursements that we can get from the city with Yoakum's group. That's where that is important to get to that 17 million. And I'll go through that one at another meeting, because that one I think we really need to walk through and really understand. And I want to go slow enough on this so that everybody at least understood. I call it the basics, but it's kind of a complicated basic. Next.
Yeah, we got public safety.
Yeah, the public safety, so you can see there, you got the lit for, public safety was 1.1, you got the jail at 2.1, and that goes just to offset some of the expenses that we have in general. With public safety, we can, like we showed from the sheriff's salaries this year, I think a couple other things. The jail lit, anything that's not going towards the bond, I think the bond was 1.3 million.
Yes.
So the remainder of that we're able to use to offset some of the jail costs. The ambulance lit, that whatever comes in, that's what we pay Parkview. That actually, before, we were paying that out of our public safety, taking up about a third of our public safety county share. So I was appreciative of everybody working with us to move that onto lit by itself.
Yeah, because that was the wrong place.
Yeah, because the county benefits from it, the county line, not just our county share. So, and then PSAP, you hit it again, I think, does that go down to show the combined dispatch funding? You take the 1.066 plus the E911, approximately 400,000. So that almost $1.5 million funds our combined dispatch. So we've moved $1.5 million off of property taxes over the years onto its own entity, which is reduced property taxes over the years. And that's kind of where all those fundings. So those are all local income tax, which are all property taxes that help fund this. And then the next one is, hey, how do we rank? This is something any business would do, is say, hey, how competitive are we? So I did a local income tax comparison, and Huntington is a 1.95, which is actually the median of the tax rate of the state. So all the states, or all the counties in the state were at 46, which is right in the middle. You can see then our neighboring counties, Wabash has maxed it out, so they're the third highest. Wells County is just above us, and then Whitley is below us. And then you've got Allen and Grant. Of course, we're different entities, we've got different needs, but for me, I just always like to see kind of where we rank. And I feel good that we're right in the middle. And then I use the median family income of 81.3, just to show kind of a favorable or unfavorable from a dollar standpoint that would mean to us. So if we lived in Wabash, it would cost you $772 more if you had a median income of 81.3, for example. I didn't get into deductions, everything else in the straight amount. But assuming everything was equal, that's what it would be. However, if you lived in Allen County, you'd save $293 on your income taxes. Then the property tax rate over to the right, I can't remember if I clicked on that or not. I took a median Home sold was 175, I'm assuming that's an assessed value, it's probably not that high. Took the net AV and said, okay, our rate of, I had to use 2024 because 2025 wasn't done yet. And we were at 4944. So we were a little bit above the median, or a little worse than the median at 46, but the average was 51.44. So we're a little better than the average in 2024. And then comparing to the other entities, Allen, everywhere else, you can see, and then off to the right, I just added the two together. So if you live in Allen County, you had a median home, a median income, you'd save $356 if you live in Allen County. If you live in Whitley County, you'd save $327. But if you live in Grant or Wabash, obviously, you'd have to pay more. Again, it's really just a litmus test of seeing what it is, and then wells were pretty much right in line with that. So those are the types of things that I look at when when we have discussions about lit. I fought the jail lit, because at the time, the median was 1.75. So I fought that because I didn't feel like we wanted to. I just thought it was a bunch of BS that the state did that, and I still agree with what they did. At the end of the day, it was the right thing to do. I just felt like there should have been more fun with that. Part of the reason that I went down to Indianapolis was because I feel like we as Huntington County, we've done what we needed to do to offset property taxes. We've done our due diligence. We're good stewards of what we do. So it's frustrating for them just to do a blanket approach and say, we're just gonna eliminate, we're just gonna lower. Address the people that are abusing it. There's a lot of rates out there. You saw how the Q courthouse and Q bridge affected us, but we were still limited to our max levy. There's a lot of rates out there that have no limits on them. So if they had a tax rate and assessed values doubled, it's a runaway for them. There's no limit on it. And that's the bottom line issue that they're running into. And I understand it. I mean, I get it, but I don't like the blanket approach. I think they need to address the real issues and not just throw everything away. Because the other thing, I think assessed values are going to level off. I think so. I think it's going to solve this problem. So
I would like to say that, again, I'm grateful for you throwing all this together and keeping us in mind. I would say that if you were to look at us compared to, there's 80 rural counties in Indiana, and if you would take out some of those bigger counties with larger cities and so forth, more industrial like this, we would even be better in the rankings, is what I'm saying. And so,
and it's
not a whole lot.
And I think even with the tax rate, when you're having agriculture, having homestead, look at Andrews doesn't have any industrial base.
Right. Yeah.
They're trying to do things with water, everything. They just got a homestead base.
Right.
You gotta have a good mix of industrial base. That's just the way it works. And again, we can only do what we can do with what we have, and I think we do a really, really good job. Absolutely, being good stewards of the money. But I always like to do a comparison.
Good stuff.
That's my feel.
Thanks,
Professor. There will be a 211 test. Yeah, so if nothing else, we'll move into reports, any corrections?
Yes, I was there. A lot of what was going on with salary that we just talked about here this evening. I do have some stats here. 107 retrial. The number everybody wants to know is how many is on campus, and that number currently is 11.
11.
But 41 active in Huntington County Community Corrections, 19 transfers. Just going over the stats, basically, it was a pretty shorter meeting. That's what got community corrections.
Okay. Solid waste while you're out.
All right. Let's see. Go ahead and kind of expand the recycling out West Park. Before I go on, there was a lot of discussion about having it out at the landfill. It was determined that there's not enough room inside at the landfill, and they would have to expand to do all of the recycling there. There's probably a little more of a capital project to make that happen out the landfill, so it was decided to stay out there. Are gonna have one more employee, but if you remember, we lost an employee last year, have a part-time now, so that kind of washes itself. But the recycling currently is gonna stay out at the west part, and it's gonna be Tuesdays, Fridays, 7 to 3. It's more of a schedule instead of a random drop-off.
Is that posted anywhere?
I don't think as of right now. I don't know what the city, I think the city's gonna kind of work on that a little bit, but I mean, a lot of the discussion was manning that because so many of the problems are just not having recycled, and it just costs so much, like I said, $10,000 a month, I think is what it is, if it's trash versus recycle. So to have somebody oversee that, yeah, it's, I know it's an expense, but it's a savings.
It's, well,
In the end.
it's silly that we gotta police ourselves.
Yeah. So,
But again, I think some of that was just, unknown. When
Yeah.
it said no bags, I didn't understand they were talking about trash
Yeah.
bags. Like, I didn't know that you had to rip the bag open.
yeah, well, that in a Walmart bag is not.
Well, I knew that, I
That's-
knew the
that's
Walmart
trash,
bag,
yeah.
but yeah, even trash bags, I just thought, wow, I'm not throwing away bags, I'm throwing away stuff in a bag.
Yeah,
So,
so yeah, they're gonna have they've been having gate issues, but at least there's gonna be somewhat of a set schedule, so and a Saturday schedule too, so that's what was discussed then.
If we get a chance to know what that schedule is, would you, maybe put it on our email, so I had a couple of questions.
Sure, it's most days, I mean, it's gonna be every day, but it's gonna be 7 to 3 or 9 to 5, and then 8 to 12 on Saturdays. So it's gonna be the bulk of the middle of the day, 5 days a week.
Most days.
Yep.
Okay, that was a big question. Thanks.
anything 3A, John?
The first meeting's March 20th. So, have a report next month.
All right, anything from job loss?
We discussed it.
There is,
Anything from agency?
Yeah, well, we have a little collaborative working, just basically on current drug trends in our county, and then around different counties, to just kind of compare to know what some of that law enforcement is kind of interesting. And the rest of it is just,
I'm sitting here.
And we met on the 31st in Auburn, that company seems to be on the way up as far as production and so forth. You know, even there is a tariffs and everything else going on, that may even boost production from Canada down this way, so. And then obviously economic development from Mark's side is looking up for the year, and things are ramping up for him, so.
Anything on EMA?
Yes. They're still working on 2 grants, one for a salary of $41,694, some change, and another one that's really flow study, which is $19,500. They're expecting the grants to go through, but they just haven't got them yet. Also, they've had several things pending. They went to on 122, they went to Wabash EMA and spoke with Heartland. They didn't at what they said. They just said they spoke with Heartland. The deputies attended the fire chief's meeting and was elected secretary to that. The director renewed his emergency management study that they have to go through for continuing education of 60 hours. The deputy director is working on his now, so he's gonna have that. They posted a warming shelter information on social media. They repaired some antennas on some water towers, which the health department paid for. And they ordered 2 new pagers for the health department, which they paid for. And they responded to several responses here, and the main ones were in January, December and January. They had the spill out here on Riverside Drive, the diesel spill. And they had structural fires on 12/31, 9/20, 1/9, January the 9th, January the 20th, January the 26th. So structural fires are going good.
Let's call, stop. That's it. Anything from the planning commission?
The first meeting of the year for planning commission is March 12th. I do have a development plan meeting tomorrow, I believe, so.
City advisor, Mr. New Member.
Just talk with Mark this evening before the meeting, I'll get in contact with him and keep me abreast of.
Mark, would you like to do the HQ?
I don't want to steal your thunder.
I didn't bring my piece of paper, but you do it so much better than I.
Well, they're just real quickly, a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank everybody for their support and encouragement for what we're doing. There are 2 new members of our board in 2025. Jeff Sauer has retired. Jeff was a member of our board for a number of years, serving both as the representative from the town of Warren for a while, as well as moving into an at-large position for a 3-year term. He has retired from the board and has been replaced by Nick Allwine. Some of you may know Nick. He lives in the county, is the president of FCI Construction Company. As an at-large member, then he serves a 3-year term. And I don't know if you remember, that several of you have been on the board, but our bylaws do term limit our members at large. They can serve 3 consecutive 3-year terms, and then they have to sit out, in essence, to take a sabbatical for a year, but that isn't an automatic, 1 year off and you come back in. It just depends on whether there are work positions available. So anyway, so Nick fills that at-large position, and then the town of Warren had previously been, had selected Steve Buzzard from town council to be their delegate to our group, and they've selected Jeremy Rufner moving forward for 2025. Those are 2 quick things. One comment real quickly, and the annual report's pretty self-explanatory. If you have questions, great. Under the Region 3A development, John, if you could keep an eye, the Region 3A development is in charge of what's called the comprehensive strategy for economic development in the region, or the SEDS document. And it'll be important for participants at 3A, as well as those who are affected by the report, to understand 2 particular things. Number 1, Region 3A is the single entity in Northeast Indiana that's recognized by the United States federal government, Department of Commerce, Federal Economic Development Administration, to submit grant applications to the federal government. That's their role at Region 3A. In doing that, however, the document that they prepare is done with the bias of trying to obtain federal grants. And historically, that has always been the weaker you look as a community, the more likely you are to qualify for a federal grant. It's the age-old argument in economic development. Is economic development about trying to promote private capital investment, new people coming into our county, or is economic development an effort to get grants from the government? Well, the truth is, it's a multidisciplinary thing, and it all is, right? Okay, but the SEDS document is going to be biased toward applying for grants, which can be counterproductive to our efforts to attract capital investment, because it's going to present us in whatever they end up doing is going to be the weakest perspective on how we look as a county. So just kind of keep that in mind, that the document is designed to apply for grant support. Therefore, that data may not look like what most of us would want or hope for or expect to see in the report. So just kind of keep that in mind, and let me know if you run into any questions or anything that I can be of assistance with. Any other questions for me?
I'll take it here, right?
Yeah, very good year. Last year, again, 11 projects. We just was at the commissioner's office this morning to get grant approval for Commodity Blenders, who's making another major investment in Warren. Tonight I was at PhD. So at this point in the year, to have 2 projects already
completed, we're off to a really good
Yep.
start.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing we didn't see, right?
No,
Tax abatement, we covered that, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. Anything on warm yet?
April 23rd is a tentative schedule.
23rd, okay. And anything on the health insurance, how we doing?
yes. As of December, which is quite a way back,
Yeah.
we were running year-to-date versus our maximum, 81.1%, which is not too bad.
Good. And that ended in
But-
February, right?
But on our claims analysis, actual versus expected, we're running at 93.1,
Still,
so we gotta be careful.
yeah, hopefully we don't go over that too. Anything else, Keith?
And that's about it on that.
Okay. Anything on the NRS yet?
I reached out to Carla, and, the day I reached out to her was a meeting. So I missed the first one of my tenure, but, we did meet actually this afternoon on a team's meeting to go over that stuff. So that was good. She basically just gave me a year in review, similar to what we have with some of these other, associations. And, basically, one thing that I just took from it was they are adding a 4th ambulance in Huntington County this year. It will run from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., which will hopefully help response times and things of that nature with coverage. So that was good. Overdose is still up, which is what people don't like to hear. But overdoses are up, but less Narcan is used. And her reasoning was because law enforcement's carrying Narcans now, people are carrying their own Narcans now, family members, so, yeah, so that was her basic reasoning there, so. Yep,
That makes sense.
but everything else she showed me in the presentation was basically on the national averages as far as calls for service, response times, things of that nature.
Jane, would you say overdoses are up, but Narcan use is down?
Correct. Okay. Well, Narcan use by.
Yeah, okay.
And deaths continue to be down, I think, right?
I don't know if she.
Yes.
That's what I
I
remember.
would say, right from the corner of the budget, he didn't spend all the money, so. No meeting on the dispatch, that's the next one. Anything on internal controls, Jill?
I attended a class in Indy, the beginning of February, went over the basic, suggestions, gave us a lot of ideas for how to maintain good internal controls to make sure that we're in good compliance.
Yes. Redevelopment, and then anything on Mark?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, newly developed Marco Development Commission, or Economic Commission, yeah, we met last week. It was to establish the area that they're targeting, which is obviously downtown Marco. So at the stop sign there, it's gonna be, towards Bluffton Block, at the Hill Block, in the back alley, behind the main area there. And we recommended, to county council, I guess that night, ordinance 2025-1. And basically what that is that if you rehab a property in that target area, zone area, it's assessed at $70,000 and someone invests $200,000 in it, then that gives them the ability to apply to a tax abatement for that difference in that assessed value. So trying to encourage redevelopment in the downtown Markle area. They have a lot of vacancies currently, just to kind of promote some businesses that way. So yeah, but that may be the only meeting of the year unless something happens. So until next year.
All right, is there anything else? If not, I'll entertain the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Keith? Second by Jamie, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?